Hi, welcome everyone. Today's video is MCQ of conservation of plants and animals. In my last video, before the Dussehra holidays, we had done for the conservation of plants and animals, and today we'll discuss some MCQs on the chapter conservation of plants and animals. So let's start with the MCQs of this chapter from Class 8 NCERT CBSE Biology. So the first question from the chapter Conservation of Plants and Animals: a major threat to the survival of organisms is due to. If you remember, when we discussed the chapter, we had first discussed that why was conservation necessary, or why was conservation so important for us. So we had talked about the major threat because of which conservation has become so much necessary, and every government throughout the world is paying a lot of attention in conservation of the plants and the wild animals throughout the world. So the major threat for the survival of organisms is pollution, deforestation, afforestation, or global warming. So the correct answer, if you have all studied the chapter, is answer or option B, that is deforestation. And the options like pollution, global warming, they are all due to the cause of this deforestation, that is their effects of deforestation that we are facing, and for which deforestation has been a major threat for all living organisms. The next question: what is not true about the effects of deforestation? So when we have talked about deforestation, we have talked about what effects does deforestation bring about, or what changes or what causes or deforestation brings about. So it leads to rainfall and soil fertility, it leads to the rise in temperature and pollution level of the earth, it leads to soil erosion, it leads to increase in level of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So deforestation leads to rise in temperature and pollution level of the earth, it is true. It leads to soil erosion, that is also very true. And it leads to increase in level of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, that is also very true, because we are cutting down of trees. Deforestation means cutting down of trees due to some reason or the other. So the first option, that is answer A, that is it leads to rainfall and soil fertility, is not true about deforestation. So deforestation never leads to soil fertility. It is option A, or answer is A. Now let's move on to the next question, that is plants require dash from the atmosphere during photosynthesis. So what is it that the plants require during the process of photosynthesis from the atmosphere? Mind it, is it the light, the oxygen, the carbon dioxide, or the water? So obviously the light, oxygen, carbon dioxide, water. Out of that, light, carbon dioxide and water is required during photosynthesis. Light is provided by the sun, whereas carbon dioxide is that which is provided by the atmosphere, or it is taken from the atmosphere by the plants during the process of photosynthesis, and water is provided from the soil by the roots take up that water. So the correct answer is option C, that is carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide traps the heat rays reflected by the earth in the atmosphere, and this leads to the process by which that the carbon dioxide traps the light energy into the earth's atmosphere so as to maintain the earth's temperature is known as increase in temperature of the earth. And this leads to, they have asked what does it lead to? It leads to increase in temperature of the earth, decrease in temperature of the earth, heavy rainfall, none of these. So what it does, because it traps the light energy or the heat energy from the sun, it increases in the temperature of the earth, and this effect or this phenomena is also known as global warming. So answer or option A is the correct answer. Option A is the correct answer. Let's move on to the next question. Which of the statement is false about desertification? Which of the statements is false about desertification? That is, gradually fertile land gets converted into deserts, the fertility of the soil is restored, the topsoil is removed, it exposes the lower hard and lacquer layers of the soil. So desertification obviously leads to fertile lands get converting into desert. That is true about desertification. The fertility of the soil is restored. No, the fertility of the soil is lost due to the process of desertification. So which is statement is false? That is option B is the false statements about the term desertification. Next question, which of the statement is true about deforestation? So which of it's true? The movement of water from the top surface into the ground, that is the rate of infiltration, is reduced, which results into the flood. So the water which comes onto the ground is not absorbed immediately by the layers of the soil. So what happens? Water clogs onto the topsoil and this causes floods. It leads to reduced water holding capacity of the soil. The soil loses its texture and nutrient content, and all of the above. So all of the statements which have been told are true about the phenomenon of deforestation. That is, it leads to less water holding capacity of the soil. That is due to which there is often floods which can be seen, and the soil loses its texture, the fertility, and also the topsoil is lost. Because we are telling that it loses the fertility means the topsoil is removed and the trees are cut down. So all of the statements is true about the phenomenon deforestation. So option or correct answer is answer D. The next question, the areas that are protected for the conservation of plants and animals. So which areas are termed, or which areas of these options are used for the protection of the animals and plants? Is it the biosphere reserve, the national park, or the wildlife sanctuary, or all of these? It is option D, all of these. All of these reserves which have been named or which have been termed are used for the protection of not only the wild animals but also the plants which are endangered or which are very much rare, or even to maintain the biodiversity, the ecosystem of a particular place. They all maintain the flora and the fauna of that particular place. So it is biosphere reserve, national park, wildlife sanctuary, all of them. So the correct answer is option D. The next question, which part of the earth supports the existence of the living organism? So which part of the earth supports the existence of living organism? It is the atmosphere that is above the earth, the lithosphere, or the biosphere. The lithosphere is the land surface on which we live, is called the lithosphere, or biosphere, and the hydrosphere. So the correct option is biosphere, because the living organisms exist because it requires both the lithosphere as well as the atmosphere in order to exist. So that portion which constitutes all the living organisms along with the atmosphere and lithosphere is known as the biosphere. So the correct answer is option C. The next question, cultivation, grazing, tourist activity are prohibited in biosphere reserve, national park, wildlife sanctuary, or all of the above. So the activities like that of grazing, then traveling, or tourist activity, or even cultivation is restricted in the national parks. The correct answer is option B. So the next question, the main aim is to protect a particular flora or the fauna. The main aim is to protection of a particular flora or the fauna is done in biosphere reserve. No, it is not, because biosphere reserves takes care of the whole ecosystem, because it is a huge area that is under it. It may come under, because in biosphere reserves people are allowed to go in for cultivation, people can go inside for traveling, for sightseeing, even for watching, or even we can see tribals which are there comes under this biosphere reserve. It is the national park or the wildlife sanctuary. It is the wildlife sanctuary that aims to protect the flora and the fauna of a particular place. So our correct option is answer C. The next question, which of them includes objects that are of historical or cultural significance along with the flora and the fauna? Now, out of biosphere reserve, national park, and wildlife sanctuary, in which one of them do we get to see the historical and cultural significance even objects like historical and cultural significance are also protected along with the wild animals and plants. So this is the national park which gets to do that, that is option B. So correct option is answer B. The next question, large areas of protected land for conservation of flora and fauna and traditional life of the tribal living is in the area is called. So this I just told you sometimes back in one of the questions that in this part or this particular reserve where along with the animals and plants, even the tribals which are native to the particular region, they also get protected or they also can stay within that, and that particular thing is known as the biosphere reserve. So the correct answer is option A, that is biosphere reserve. So when we are reading the chapter, please keep in mind these particular options or the particular conditions which is eligible for each of these reserves. Supposedly for national park, it is like historical monument or particular a cave, a bridge that is actually kept or that is also restored in a national park along with the animals and plants. Whereas in a biosphere reserve, it's a huge area, a huge area that is considered to be a biosphere reserve, in that not only the animals and plants but also some tribal population, if they are actually existing or staying, they are also protected in the biosphere reserve, which is not in that in a national park or a wildlife sanctuary. In a national park, you're not allowed to enter so freely as you're allowed in a biosphere reserve or a wildlife sanctuary. National park is protected, very much protected from poaching, grazing, cultivation, tourist activities. So all these differences, which is allowed, which is not allowed, because both biosphere reserve, national park come under the jurisdiction of the government, whereas wildlife sanctuary is still not, it is not that it is protected by the government or it is taken care by the government. So each of it is different from each of them, but their main motto or the main aim of all of these is to protect the flora and the fauna which are getting affected due to the effect or due to the cause of deforestation. That we have to keep it in mind. So when you're reading the chapter, you should understand the differences between all of them very clearly. You should be very clear or thorough with the differences between each of them, that is biosphere reserve, a wildlife sanctuary and a national park. Let's go on to the next question. What is the term used for the variety of plants, animals and microorganisms found in an area? So when all the particular area, in a particular area, the amount of animals, the plants, the microorganisms, all living things, whatever are found, they together, they are called the biosphere, no, the biodiversity, no, the flora and the fauna, or the sanctuary. So it is the correct is the biodiversity. So we tell that how diverse that particular region is based on the presence of the wild animals, that is the animals, the plants, the microorganisms and all living organisms. We decide the biodiversity of that particular place. So answer is answer option B. The next question, this helps to maintain the biodiversity and culture of that area and may also contain other protected areas in it. Is it biosphere reserve, national park, wildlife sanctuary, all of the above? So it helps to maintain the biodiversity and culture of that area. When we are talking of biodiversity and culture, it is obviously the biosphere reserve which does that, because national park and wildlife sanctuary, it mainly aims in the protection of the animals and the plants. It is the biosphere reserve which not only protect the animals and the plants but also the biodiversity of a particular region and also the culture of that particular region. So correct answer is option A. So the next question, plants and animal species which are exclusively found in a particular area. Endemic, extinct, endangered and vulnerable. So the correct option is option A, that is endemic, which is particularly located in a particular area, any of the animals or it may be your plants also. Like for the Panchpadi Biosphere Reserve, which we'll be discussing, some endemic species both the flora and the fauna have been discussed in the chapter also, and even in the questions also I will be discussing, which are located or found in that particular biosphere reserve itself. So option A is the correct one. Coming to the next, the Panchmari, just now I was talking about the Panchmari Biosphere Reserve, consists of the Panchmari Wildlife Sanctuary, Bori Wildlife Sanctuary, the Satpura National Park, or all of the above. So this Panchmari Biosphere Reserve consists of all the Panchmari Wildlife Sanctuary, Bori Wildlife Sanctuary, the Satpura National Park, and all of the above. So it contains all of them together. The correct option is answer option D. So you can understand this biosphere reserve is such a huge one. In this biosphere reserve, we all have a national park, we have a wildlife sanctuary, 2 wildlife sanctuary as well as a national park. So you can understand the hugeness of a particular biosphere reserve that can encompass or that can take in a national park, a wildlife sanctuary, everything together. Moving on to the next question. Name 2 endemic flora of the Panchmari Biosphere Reserve. Just now I was talking that we have already discussed in the chapter. Again in the questions I have discussed it. So what are the 2 endemic flora? Flora means the plants which are endemic and they are found only specially in the Panchmari Biosphere Reserve. That is the wild mango and the sal. So this is the wild mango and the sal which is found or which is exclusively found in the Panchmari Biosphere Reserve, which is located in Madhya Pradesh. Next is name 2 endemic fauna of the Panchmari Biosphere Reserve, that is 2 animals, that is the giant squirrel and the bison. This is the giant squirrel and the bison, which are very much endemic to the Panchmari Biosphere Reserve. The next question. Which national park is the first reserve forest of India? Dodhwa National Park, Corbett National Park, Satpura National Park, or none of these. It is the Satpura National Park is the first national park of India. At the reserve forest of India, it is option C. Next one, which reserve protect the whole set of ecosystem? Which reserve protects the whole set of ecosystem? I'm telling you, it is the whole set of ecosystem that it is protecting. Is it the biosphere reserve, the national parks, both of these, or none of these? It is the national park which protects the ecosystem. If you remember, we are told that biosphere, that is the total thing, is protected by the biosphere reserve, and the national park protects the ecosystem, means everything. It not only protects the living things but also protects the non-living things. That is, any caves, any particular bridge, any water body, whichever may be present in that particular national park, that also gets protected along under the legal norms of the government. So it is the national park which protects the whole set of ecosystem, because an ecosystem not only consists of the living beings but also of the non-living things. So it is correct option is option B, that is national park. Rock shelters are found in which national park? Now see, this rock shelter is a part of an ecosystem which also gets protected in the national park. This is a unique feature of a national park which is not found in biosphere reserve or wildlife sanctuary. So these rock shelters, or I told you, it may be some kind of bridges, some kind of caves, some tunnels, some water body, or anything, any sculpture, any temple, which may be also get protected in a national park, which actually is a part of the ecosystem. So rock shelters are found in which national park? It is Panchmari Wildlife Sanctuary, Bori Wildlife Sanctuary, Satpura National Park, or all of the above. It is the Satpura National Park which has the rock shelters in it. That is option C. The next, how many rock shelters have been identified in Panchmari Biosphere Reserve? So how many rock shelters? What are rock shelters? They are carvings of different figurines of gods and goddesses or different people which give an insight of the tribals, or it gives the insight of the Indian history. Now these are all found and they are all protected in the national park. So how many rock shelters are found in the Panchmari Biosphere Reserve? It is option C, that is 55 rock shelters are found in the Panchmari Biosphere Reserve. That is option C. The next question. The project Tiger Reserve was launched by the government in order to protect the tigers in the year. So when was this Tiger Reserve project launched by the government of India? It was done in order to save the tigers, because that time the numbers were decreasing like in a very exponential rate. So in order to stop that, Tiger Reserve was launched in order to protect the tigers, and this was done in the year 1973. That is option C is the correct option. Next, animals whose numbers are diminishing to a level that they might face extinction are known as endemic species, extinct species, endangered species, or vulnerable species. So the animals whose numbers are diminishing at a very fast level, they are considered as the endangered species. That is option C. Endemic means it is located in a particular area, extinct means they are already lost, and endangered means their numbers are decreasing at a very fast rate. So these particular animals need to be taken care of immediately in order to save their population. The next question: plants, animals, microorganisms along with the non-living components such as the climate, soil, water body, mountains, etc. comprises of the biosphere, biodiversity, sanctuary, ecosystem. So the correct answer is option D, that is ecosystem. So I had discussed this that when I was talking of the national park, that the national park protects a whole ecosystem, not only the living part, that is not only the living components, that is the animals and plants, but also the whole ecosystem, like that of the soil, the water, even any kind of architecture, any kind of structure, any kind of water body, everything gets protected, and whole of this together constitute the ecosystem. So the next question: a book to keep a record of the endangered animals and plants is called the red data book, blue data book, black data book, and green data book. So if you have seen the question, you immediately know the answer, that it is for the endemic species, sorry, not for the endemic, for the endangered animals and the plants, it is the red data book. But the other options, mind it is not that they are simply options. All of the books exist, because all this type, that is the black data book, the blue data book, the green data book, all of it exists, and supposedly the black data book is of those particular animals and plants which have already become extinct. So these are not just void options, they are all legitimate options. So the correct answer is answer A, that is the red data book. The next question: birds that fly out to different parts of the world in the winter to escape the extreme climatic conditions is known as the endangered birds, the endemic birds, the migratory birds, or none of the above. So it is the migratory birds which fly a huge or a very long distance in order to escape the extreme weather conditions, and in order to escape and so to save their life. So it is correct option is option C, that is migratory birds. The next question: the process of restocking of destroyed forests by planting new trees is called. So process of restocking, so after desertification or desertification, that is deforestation, when it is desertification, that is you have lost all the trees, it is totally a desert formation has been done. Again, restocking of the trees in order to get back the land or restore the land. This process is known as afforestation, deforestation, reforestation, or none of the above. So the correct answer is reforestation, that is option C. The next question: Forest Conservation Act aimed at the preservation and conservation of natural forests and meeting of the basic needs of people living in or near the forest. It came into being in the year 1972, 1975, 1980, or 1982. So it came in the year 1980. It was started, this Forest Conservation Act came into being in the year 1980, which not only cared about the restoration, about the protection of the animals and the plants, but also to meet the basic needs of the people living near to the forest, because it is mostly those tribal peoples or the particular people which have very less in numbers, or they have a very small community which live near the forest. In order to restore them or protect them along with the animals and the plants, this Forest Conservation Act came into being in the year 1980. That is option C. A place where animals are protected in their natural habitat is called a national park, sanctuary, zoo, or none of the above. So correct answer is sanctuary, B. That is the correct answer. Place where animals are protected in their natural habitat. So they are maintained in the natural habitat. So correct answer is option B, that is sanctuary. So this brings us to the end of this session of the MCQs of conservation of plants and animals. If you have liked my video, please like, share and subscribe to my channel. And if you have any doubts or any questions regarding this chapter, please put your comments in the comment section. I will surely get back to you. Still then, stay safe, stay healthy, and I will meet you in the next video of another lesson or another chapter from Class 8 NCERT CBSE Biology. Till then, goodbye, take care.